So what are the main objectives of economic planning in our country, especially? This is India's economic planning objective. So the very first thing, definitely, it is the economic development. And why economic development? Only when there is an economic development, there are more employment opportunities, there are more like income generation for the people, they have a better standard of living, better facilities of living, and there are more opportunities coming in from foreign countries also. So economic development is the primary goal or primary objective of economic planning in India. And what does it impact? It increases employment rates and self sufficient. The country has to be self-sufficient. We had already learned in our previous sessions like that during the pre-independence period, India was dependent on countries like US and UK and all, even for food items. But India had its own resources for producing all these items. It was not self-sufficient, or the British Empire created such a situation that India was not self-sufficient at all on its own resources. So when this economic planning came, one of the most important objective was to make the country self-reliant and self-independent as well as self-sufficient. It doesn't need to have dependency. Yes, it can have trades with other countries, but it should not be dependent on some other country for its resources. That is meant by self-sufficiency. And economic stability. Now, what does this economic stability means? See, if we are earning 10,000 rupees per month and we spend the 10,000, whatever we get, and what have every month, imagine we are getting 10,000 per month salary and we are spending 10,000 per month every month. But what happens if an unexpected event occurs? Like one month we lost the job. What will happen? We will not have enough resources or reserves in our hand to handle that particular unexpected situation. Imagine the COVID-19 pandemic that happened like 2 years back. People did not have job. People were all stuck inside the home. Those who had work from home, okay, they had some kind of an income, but there were people who could not opt for work from home and they were literally jobless. People were finding it very difficult to maintain their lifestyle or their day-to-day activities. This is because COVID-19 pandemic was something which was never expected by any person across the world. So if a country is economically stable or if a person is economically stable, it would mean that that country or that person has at least enough resources to cover these unexpected events. You might have heard about certain people during this pandemic itself, even though they don't have job or anything, they were self-sufficient or they could deal with their day-to-day activities. Why? Because they had some kind of resource. So economic stability is very important for a country because there can be any kind of unexpected events, unprecedented events, and for that, it is important that a country has its reserves, which it maintains for some kind of unexpected events. So economic stability also became an important objective for India. And social welfare and social services. So involving people, involving activities or introducing activities and events for people's welfare and giving them social services like giving them subsidies or subsidized loans, grants, etc. for conducting some kind of services activities for their employment generation, etc., were all part of the economic planning objectives. And like we discussed in the earlier sessions, there needs to be regional development. It should not be like one state is ahead of another, or one state is getting priority than the other states, or one particular region is getting more priority than the other regions. No, it should not happen. There has to be a regional development, and there needs to be a balance between the regional development. This was an objective of the economic planning, and all these were involved as part of the sustainable development also. So what does sustainable development means? Development in such a manner that our future generation also has enough resources to live. So it is not like we are getting the entire like water resources. We have the water resources now. If we waste or if we pollute the water resources, what will happen? The future generation will not have such resources. So from a country's perspective, whenever there is economic planning, it should also be focusing on sustainable development, which means its future generation should also be able to sustain their lives and sustain their lifestyles with these developments done. So development should not be in such a manner that it destroys the future generation. It has to be in such a manner that it supports development and of the future generation, and it is sustainable. And over the period of time, like by the time of independence itself, there were lots of economic inequalities in our country, and this was creating much issues inside the country. And so, when economic planning was introduced, another main objective that they planned was to reduce these in economic inequalities. Like some people have lots of money while some people live in poor. No, it should not be like that. So there needs to be a mechanism for reducing those economic inequalities. One of the measures is to provide employment opportunities even for the unskilled laborers. So, reducing economic inequality was an objective, and social justice, like whether, irrespective of the age, caste, gender, or educational qualification, status, let it be any aspect, India made sure that there was social justice available for every citizen in the country. And also, when this economic development is happening, people generally tend to have a higher standard of living. So, when we analyze the periods during 1947 or 1957, 67, now where we are standing now, like in 2023, we have a better standard of living because of the planning and development that has occurred in the past decades.